In this video, I have two functions f of x and g of x. I need to find f composition g of x and g composition f of x. That is, I need to find composition in both directions. Please keep in mind the definition of function composition. F composed g of x or f composition g of x is equal to f of g of x. Now I take this function f and give it an input g of x. G is this, right? So my g of x is negative 4x plus 5. G of x negative 4x plus 5. Now I have to look at the function f and look at it and say that this takes as input negative 4x plus 5. So here in the function definition, if you give it an x as input, it's going to take the input, multiply it by 4, add 3 and divide it by 2 times, negative 2 times the input plus 1. It's going to do the exact same thing. So let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to write it out here. 4 times the input, so I'm going to leave a parenthesis here for input, plus 3, negative 2 times the input plus 1. I just plug in this input now, which is what? Negative 4x plus 5, input negative 4x plus 5. At this point, all I'm going to do is just simplify it by using the distributive property. 4 times negative 4x is negative 16x, 4 times 5 is 20, then plus 3, divided by negative 2 times negative 4x is positive 8x, negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, then plus 1. If I simplify it, I get negative 16x plus 20 plus 3 is 23, divided by 8x, 10 negative plus 1 is negative 9, which is, by the way, my f composed g of x. So that's one of the answers. The other one is the other way composition, which is g composed with f of x. So let's go ahead and find that one, g composed with f of x, which by definition g of f of x. So my f of x. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, inside this parenthesis, I'm going to put the f of x. What is f of x? This whole thing. 4x plus 3 divided by negative 2x plus 1. Now I should be asking the question, what does g do to its input? What does g do to its input, x? In the function definition, we see that it takes x and multiplies it by negative 4 and adds 5 to the result. It's going to do the exact same thing. So let me go ahead and do it here. Is going to be negative 4 times the input and then add 5 to it. In my case, the input is 4x plus 3 divided by negative 2x plus 1. Now, please do keep in mind that this whole thing inside the parenthesis, 4x plus 3 divided by 2x plus 1, negative 2x plus 1, this is one entity, one item, one value going into the function. So this value is probably, when you were to actually evaluate this function for some specific value, this is going to evaluate to something. So based on this, is going to give you an output. Do not think of it as 4x plus 3, negative 2x plus 1. It's just one unit, one identity, one unit or one thing going into the function as an input. It gives you an output. Now the rest is pretty straightforward. I just simplify it. Is going to be using the distributive property, negative 16x minus 12, negative 4 times 3 divided by negative 2x plus 1. Then I can just combine this. I'm going to multiply it by negative 2x plus 1 and divide it by negative 2x plus 1. This is just to have the same denominator. So if I combine this, it's going to be negative 2x plus 1 in the denominator, and the numerator is going to be negative 16x minus 12, which is this, then plus this plus, now I have to distribute this 5 times negative 2x is going to be negative 10x, so I just have to erase this one and put negative 10x, and then 5 times 1 is 5. If I combine the like terms, what I get in the numerator, negative 16x minus 10x is negative 26x, negative 12 plus 5 is positive 7, negative 7, and then in the denominator I have negative 2x plus 1. This is technically my answer, but I'm going to factor out a negative 1 on the top so that I get something nicer looking. 26x plus 7 divided by negative 1. If I factor it out, it's going to be 2x minus 1. This negative 1 cancel out. That's going to give me 26x plus 7 divided by 2x minus 1. And that should be your g composed with f of x. And that's what it is. Now, once again, I'm going to just draw a small diagram here with functions. So if this is your f and this is your g, you give it an input x, it gives you an output f of x. F of x goes as an input to g, it gives you an output of g of f of x, which gives you g composed with f of x, which is this one. Now, if you do the other one, make this one g and this one f, you give it an input x, it gives you an output g of x, because the function is g. This g of x goes as an input to f, it gives you an output of f of g of x, which is, by the way, f composed with g of x, which is this one. I hope that this discussion was helpful. Thank you very much.